Welcome to T4G Sports. It's reaction time, baby. We're going to react to the fans. We're going to give our 2 cents on this game here. It was the Boise State Broncos versus the Oregon Ducks. And in this game here, it was a rough one. It was a rough one. Well, before we jump into this, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, click the notification bell. Don't just play the game, baby. Own the game. Let's light it up. All right, quickly, before we go over the comment section, we are going to be talking about the game here. Here is what I don't like about Oregon. For one, I would have put them at this ranking in the beginning of the year. Many of you guys already know that who have followed us. 2 months ago, we released a video talking about how they were ranked way too high and they need to prove themselves first. I was not trying to bash Oregon. I was simply stating what I saw. That's it. Okay, people don't want to hear the truth. They just want to hear you just go, you're the greatest. That's all they want to hear. I swear to God. Now, here's where I have an issue with this game. Boise State has Oregon's number. Okay, fine. However, Boise State is being considered to be this like secret powerhouse, and they are good, and they have one of the best running backs in the country. Could almost argue that he is the best. However, they've almost allowed 100 points scored against them in 2 games alone. 45 points. They allowed more points against an FCS team than they did against Oregon. That's not a good sign to me, and I don't care what anyone says. Now, for this game here, you knew that Ashton was going to get the ball in abundance. He had 6 touchdowns week 1. Quarterback play, not very good, as you could see from their quarterback. 17 for 40, 148 yards, 1 TD. You knew Genty was going to get the ball in crazy abundance, like I said, and you couldn't stop him. And that's a problem. And I know he's one of the best running backs. However, that's not one of the best offensive lines in the Big Ten, if you were to consider him Big Ten standard. Boise State is not dominating on the offensive line compared to Ohio State. You could list quite a bit of teams that have better offensive lines than Boise State. And he still had 25 carries, 192 yards, 7.7 yards per average with 3 touchdowns. If you knew he was going to run the ball and you still couldn't stop him, that's a concern. They won this game by basically luck. Honestly, I know you did it on special teams, but you lost in every category. And when you lose in almost every category, your chances of being successful or winning that game is slim. You lost on total yards, turnover battle, first downs, time of possession. That is so rare to win games when you lose all of those things in a game. It's just rare. It means big plays happened. And if you're winning on big plays, that is hard to do week in and week out. So the first week was a struggle for Oregon. The second week, also a struggle for Oregon. Boise State is a good football team. Don't get me wrong. They could be in the playoff. There's no doubt about that. I just don't see them as a serious playoff contending team. If I'm just being honest with you guys, I see them, if they go, they're going to lose quick unless they are just playing with fire and fury. And things happen. I could be totally wrong. So I'm not very impressed with the identity. On paper, Oregon looks really good. Offensive line's not looking solid. Dylan Gabriel, his processing is too slow compared to what Bo Nix was. He's already been sacked more times than Bo Nix. Bo Nix was very fast with his processing, and if he couldn't find an open guy, he was gone. He was getting out of there most of the time and getting yards with his legs. He had a pretty good deal with Bo Nix going on. Defense is just not looking that efficient. You're allowing teams to just score too much on you. Quite simply put, Boise State not being able to know that they're going to run on you and say, hey, we're going to stop that run, and Ashton is not going to run all over us, and then he does run all over you, is not a good sign to me on the defensive side of the ball. So that's our opinion on this. I think that they are flirting with the flop list, but we're not going to put them on that flop list yet. They're still on the fix list because that's our 2 right there. Fix or flop. We got Michigan in the flop right now. Oregon is flirting with that, but we still have them in the fix because we believe they could turn it around. But they're going to need to do it very quick because this schedule gets very, very tough moving forward. You got to go play at Oregon State, who's a rival, at UCLA. That's not the biggest concern. Michigan State's a big concern because they just beat Maryland, and they have something to prove, and they have a chip on their shoulder because all the crap that's been going on with their program. It's been a rough couple of years, even 3 years for them. And then you got Ohio State, who's playing great. You are playing them at home. That's a big win for you if you can win that. Purdue, they're just a shiesty team. They're very, very gifted with their athletes. They can throw the ball in excess. They're quick with getting the ball out. They're a tough team to play. They're feisty. Illinois just knocked off a ranked team. They're playing with a chip on their shoulder because they're never considered to be any good at all. And then you're playing at Michigan at the Big House. Yes, they didn't look good, but if they take too many losses, this could be a wounded animal, and that's not what you want either because they have nothing to lose besides take away your season. And so that's a scary game even if Michigan's not looking that good. And then Maryland. Maryland has something to prove because they just lost to Illinois. So they're going to be a little bit pissed off, and we don't know how they're going to look at the end of the season, but they typically look better as the season goes on if you just look at Maryland's history. At Wisconsin, if it's a night game, statistically, Wisconsin plays better. But Wisconsin needs to do a lot because right now Wisconsin's not looking so hot either. So then you're playing Washington, and Washington's a rivalry game, and you really can't guess what's going to happen in a rivalry game. So it's kind of scary. So this season gets tough, and it gets tough next week. Within the next 3 weeks, your season picks up drastically. Okay, we are on Dan Lanning post-game press conference, Boise State game, Go Ducks YouTube channel. Let's go over some of the comments here and see what we got. You got a Boise State fan to start it off. Boise State fan here. Hell of a game. Always a burner when our two teams meet. Now go on and win the Big Ten. Let's see what the comments here. Doesn't look as if Boise State will lose the Mountain West. I agree with that. Great game. Your team has always been such a duck killer. I've always been worried about you since I saw you on the schedule. And Genty is absolute magic. He is a beast. Genty. A lot of these there. That's, yeah, interesting. You got a guy here, Duck Swag 87. I aged 10 years tonight. All those Boise State losses were tough. Thank you, Dan and the Ducks. That was sweet. Great way to face adversity and come out on top. Hey, I'll agree with that. You got Boogans. This is going to be an interesting season. I agree with that. 10-2 most likely. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, we may need to ask our doctors for blood pressure medications if this is any indication of how things could go. Oregon 18-point favorites? Not. Penn State fan here. Boise State should be in the Power 4 conference. I'd love to see them with Power 4 resources and recruiting budget. They deserve it. Still, for a G5 team, they've always been able to recruit well and have been well coached in a great program. So true. So true. And you guys are probably saying that because you just almost lost to Bowling Green too. So that he's like throwing a little bit of a flag, a little bit of a rope there. You got Alien Space 3960. Boise State and Oregon should play every year. No, they shouldn't. That's a Boise State fan saying that, because if you're an Oregon fan, you better not be saying that. I wouldn't encourage that mess. If they beat you every year, you're going into the Big Ten. You don't want to be taking L's before you go into Big Ten conference or the potential of taking L's. You need to play cupcakes, okay? You need to do what the SEC does. They play cupcakes. Why do you think all their teams are ranked? They wouldn't even play an away game for a Power 5 opponent for over 30 years. This is the first time Florida did it in over 30 years, and they lost to Utah. Why do you think they don't do stuff like that? Because it doesn't make you look good. I would not recommend. I got to see the comments on this. I agree. Real. The risk-reward is already bad with Oregon State, but it gets much worse with Boise State because they always play well against Oregon, but people expect Oregon to beat them easily. That's the truth. And then you got John Stover, no thank you. And then Joe Nobody, no thanks. Boise has always been solid. Yeah, agree. If you're an Oregon fan, do not be wishing for that. And then you got Don Botter. Goodness sakes. After the Colorado loss in this close game, I thought my boyfriend was going to go ape crazy. He ended up going to bed to hear me cheering for the Ducks. Whoo! Go Ducks. That's probably her boyfriend. And then you got Atis, whatever the hell his name is. Not a good game, coach. Please fix it. I almost had a heart attack. Go Ducks. It was a great game for Boise State because, like the other guy said, they expect you to beat this team. You're supposed to be the second best team in the Big Ten who's fighting for a natty. Georgia, Ohio State, none of them could play a game like that and it would be okay at all. Maybe Georgia more than Ohio State, but I'm telling you right now, if Ohio State did that, oh my God, what would the news headlines be? Oh, they're terrible, drop them down to 7th, like crush them. No, yeah, that I would not go with that was a great game on Oregon's behalf because Oregon looks beatable. And that's not what you want to see from a Group 5 team. I don't care, I just don't care what the dynamics are. If Boise State plays better against Oregon, I don't care what it is. You have to look at what people are seeing. They're seeing a team that should have been ranked in the top 3 that's supposed to be fighting for a natty in the Big Ten championship who's struggling against a Group 5 team. That's what they're seeing. And the Group 5 team also allowed 45 points from an FCS team. So that's what experts are seeing. You got Nick. I hope the team figures it out. Obviously, we have a lot of talent. Good luck, Dan Lanning, and our beloved Ducks. Yeah, hopefully you guys do turn it around because you guys do have a very good team. You got Samara Ramos or Sam Ramos. Okay. Oregon is going through some growing pains. Rather go through it now than later. Dude, 100%. I agree with that. So true. If that's what you want to call it, I call it being overrated, fraudulent. Oof, this guy is not a fan of the Ducks. I do call it being overrated as well. I'll agree with I don't know about the fraudulent part. That's a little extreme for me, but I agree with the overrated aspect of that because I just think they needed to prove themselves. So I think it's poison. I think you put them too high up in the air, and fan base, the national media, everyone poisoned this team to make them like, you're the greatest ever. And then when they weren't playing the greatest ever, now they're just feeling the pressure, and it's just the coaching staff, the players. I think just like Nick Saban once said, that poison that you got, or that stuff you write about our team, he said, that stuff you write about our team about how great they are, that's poison. That's poison. And I think that kind of happened to Oregon. That's my opinion. Then you got a good one here. Rams Spencer, 54-92. Special teams were awesome tonight. They were. Can Oregon improve enough at offensive line in time to remain a conference competitor? Yeah, they could, but they need to do it quick. That's a big question for me, and I agree. Those holding penalties, yikes. Yeah, they do. It's been a long time since we have seen special teams come through like that for us. It was nice to see, but so much has to be fixed. I agree. I think there's a lot of reasonable fans here right at this comment section. And then you got one Captain Hiltz, or whatever his name is. Coach, please lay into Stein. His play calling has to improve. It does, but I also think that you have a bit of both can be true, is where it has to improve, but he could be limiting. Like, this does happen, and some of you guys have to see this. There's times where guys will limit. If they get a new class or they get a lot of new guys or anything like that, transfer portal guys, new quarterbacks, they may have to change the way they call things. So both can be true at the same time, is that he's not doing his job effectively enough, and then the other part could be also true that, well, he's limiting what he can actually do. Because, like, if you've seen in the first game, why was Dylan Gabriel 41 for 49 with only 8 yards in average, and he almost threw as many yards as Miller Moss, and Miller Moss threw way less completions. So you look at that, the confidence there was, the ideology was, let's throw to our playmakers short and just allow them to win this game for us, and it didn't work. And it was like there was no other backup plan. So it seems like both is true, in my opinion, that the play calling needs to be better, and on top of which, he's not fully trusting what he's seeing out there. You got Kyle Schwinn. If we can just get our O-line in order, offense has so many weapons and the defense is stout. That is not stout, in my opinion. The defense just allowed 369 and 34 points. That is stout in your eyes, eh? Yeah, I agree with that. And then you got another guy. This isn't good. Defense looked very average, to be honest. Agree with that. I don't know. I wouldn't go as far as to say stout. I did not see that performance go stout. Like, this is not what came to my mind. You got Red Car 72. Oregon has some of the best recruits in the nation. There are only so many times Dan can talk about how the players need to improve before we have to start looking at the coaching around the players, be it the head coach, offense coordinator, DC, etc. I agree with that. I think you do got to start questioning it. That's why I was so confused when I said in the beginning of the year, 2 months ago, beginning of the football season, I said Dan Lanning needs to prove himself, and Oregon fans were like, no, he's already proved himself. And I was like, I even think Lincoln Riley needs to prove himself, even though he's doing that right now. If Ryan Day still has to prove himself, and he's one of the winningest coaches in his first 5 years, and he still has to prove himself because he's not just winning natties every year. And same thing with Kirby Smart. He had to prove himself after 5 years because he wasn't winning natties. Everyone was calling for his head too. How is it that some of these coaches don't have to prove themselves? That's what I was confused about. I think you should hold everyone to the same standard. You got to prove yourself. Okay, you do. I mean, even Nick Saban, they were like, oh, he's washed up, then he proves himself. Oh, he's washed up, then he proves himself. Every coach has to prove themselves consistently. Even if Kirby Smart doesn't win a natty for the next 3 years, what are they going to be saying about him? How quickly will they turn on him? Bam Bam says, very, very concerned for the Ducks thus far. As a fan, disappointing we did not dominate and win by a huge score. Ohio and Texas, these powerhouses are nothing compared to the past two teams. Yeah, that is true. There are some armies. I think of it as like warfare. You look at Georgia, you look at Texas, you look at some of these teams that even some of the teams that aren't just looking completely, insanely powerful, and that's Ohio State as well as up on that list, where they're just looking like, dear Lord, there's a lot of power there. And it is very hard it's going to be very hard to knock those teams off. Very hard. Okay, but then you have your other like hidden teams as well, where you have your Penn States. I know they struggled against Bowling Green, but if they decide to play their best football, that's nasty football. Tennessee is up there if they can get to that level. And then you got your hidden teams too, like your Illinois, your some real good teams, even Missouri. You could throw them on that as well, to where you play some of those teams and they could punch you in the mouth pretty hard right out of the gate. So this is probably one of the toughest seasons I've ever seen in college football. I mean, the level of talent is immense across the board. And then there's some of those top teams like Ohio State and Georgia, in my opinion, are the two top ones where it's just like, wow, there's a lot of power in those two teams. And they're not going to be easy. And then you have your next tier, and I know some people will be like, you're not throwing Texas up there? Not yet. Not yet. You got Jason Colin. I hope Dan doesn't start becoming a broken record. I don't want to hear the same thing every week. Also, who feels like we should retire Jackson Power Johnson's jersey right now for how he made our O-line look last year? Who knew one man could make a O-line? Also, well, I also think Bo Nix was a part of that, though. His processing and release was impeccable. Also, did our Will Stein from last year go to the NFL too? Just asking, because I feel like we have his twin brother calling plays. I mean, I know Oregon has always been the leaders of in innovation, but maybe they were just trying their hand in the cloning market, and they tried to clone Will Stein, and this was finished product, because this sure in the hell ain't the Will Stein who called plays last year. But that's what I was telling you about, is he may be seeing something that you're not seeing, and he is not. Look, guys, I'm going to be honest. Do you really think a coach is going to tell you our players can't do what we did last year? Do you think he's going to say that out loud? Hell no. God, no. Not a shot in hell. So what I'm saying is he may be seeing something in Dylan Gabriel. There may be something there that he's not ready yet. Okay, I can't open up my offense yet. We're having some offensive line issues here, and it's not just on the offensive coordinator. Okay, so I'm not giving him a pass. I'm saying both can be true. And then we'll end it with this one here by Revenants. The negativity by Duck fans is unreal. Maybe, but I think they are pretty pissed off. I agree that they could be pissed off a little bit. Spoiled fans expect 40-point win every game. That Boise State team is good. So was Idaho. Oh, dear Lord. Yeah, I don't know if I'd call Idaho good in Big Ten standards. Yeah, I don't know. Do the Ducks have things to fix? Yeah, but they're still trying to figure things out, and win is a win. Give these 18-year-old kids a break. Yeah, dude, absolutely, bro. Underrated take right here. Defending Boise State, FCS Idaho is good. As good as troubling. Yeah, that's what I'm... How the hell are we supposed to beat actual good teams in the Big Ten when the team struggles with unranked lower-tier teams? They should roll in Eugene. But you're looking at some of these teams and saying Idaho's good in their conference. Boise State's great in their conference. But take those teams, Idaho and Boise State, throw them in the Big Ten. What do you think their record's going to be? And you're lying if you say they're above 500. You're lying if you even think they're going to be 500 in conference play. You're lying. I'm telling you right now, you're lying to yourself. There's no way Boise State. Ask Boise State's head coach, put him in a lie detector and say, do you think you do well in the Big Ten? The minute he says yes, that lie detector is going to light up like a Christmas tree. Are you kidding me? Idaho? You think Idaho would get dog walked in the Big Ten every single week almost. At one point you could see the headlines now. Idaho beats this team in the Big Ten. Oh my God. The news would go crazy. They'd be like, that's the Big Ten sucking right there. Like they expect any Big Ten team to beat these teams. Not just Oregon. Any Big Ten team, even Purdue, they would expect to have an absolute shootout with Boise State. That's just the way it is. Welcome to the Big Ten. And you got a guy here, the amount of hype we had going into the season, our expectations should be equally high. Exactly. It was poison. And we're just not playing up to those expectations right now. We want to win a natty because we're not competing with Georgia, Texas, or Ohio State with that kind of effort. There you go. There's some realistic fans right there that are being realistic with what they're seeing. So didn't expect a 40-point blowout, but somewhere around the 19 they were favored by would have been more reassuring that this team is ready. there you go. There's people that are finally taking it and going, we need to do better, much better. It's not just doing, hey, win is a win. No, there's trouble on the horizon, and we need to get better in order to beat that. If you're planning on winning by special teams alone and losing on turnovers, time of possession, yards, you name it, then good luck. I don't know. But here's the thing, and we're going to finish it off with this. Boise State is that team that could put it in the fix slot and turn things around and be vicious. They can do that. They just need to flip that switch. And however they flip that switch is up for debate. But if they flip that switch, that's a dangerous team. Very dangerous team. And that's why I said 2 months ago, we got to let things play out. And I'm still in that right now. I have them in the fix category. And I think you just got to let things play out. Take a breath, let things play out.